I'm going to call the special meeting to order at 6:32 p.m. We'll have Q Gallo lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so we're going to proceed to item 4 on the agenda. I'm going to take that up first. It's the high school solar roof project with facility upgrades. So I'm going to suggest, Rocky, Mr. Deputy Mayor, that you make a motion and we'll do the discussion on the spring project.
I can do that. Motion that the Board of Mayor and Burgesses authorize the mayor to execute a performance contract with Johnson Controls Incorporated, a performance contract for any amendments thereto, any certificates or documents related to the performance contract, and to perform all other acts and execute all of the documents which are necessary or appropriate, subject to final approval by Shipman and Goodwin LLP.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. What we're going to do, I'm going to give some background to the project. And we have on the line Adam Burgess from Advanced Energy Efficiencies. In the room we have Mary Hale from Advanced Energy. And I don't know, is Todd Pirelli up there on the list? Okay. And they will be discussing the scope of work after I talk about the entire project. We also have on the line Matt Ritter from Shipman and Goodwin, who will talk about the legal issues. I've handed out some documents to the people who are here live. I believe Fran has them as well. I'm going to hand them now to Kim. By way of background, some of these things you already know, but I'm going to repeat them. So we all know that we have taken over the management of all the schools. So the facilities, the school buildings are now managed by the Bureau of Management. And there are many long neglected capital problems that have been put off for ages that we're trying to tackle. We also have a need for capital in our capital reserve account. We also know that the former solar project on the roof at the high school failed. The technology of panels built into the roof failed nationally, and those panels were removed. We also know that there were limitations on our ability to get state reimbursement, and we had to wait a period of time before we could apply for a new roof, which you need to do a solar. So we have decided that the time is right. Now, what's happened is that there have been several changes in Washington, D.C. that impact solar projects nationally, and some time limitations have been imposed on us, and it was necessary for us to act much more quickly than normal for this project. And I'll also say that this project includes a lot of moving parts and extremely large, complex technical scope of work that actually goes in the performance contract schedule 1 from page 11 to exactly 36 and 37. So there are many, many pages of technical aspects relating to the scope of work. And these have been reviewed by Todd Pirelli, our facilities manager, Adam, and Gary. And there have been many revisions, and there are a few more revisions that were agreed to today that will be put into the final document. So the project includes a 3 solar arrays at the high school, one on the roof, one in the garage setting in the upper parking lot above the field, and some on the hill between the high school and Western School. And it's a large solar project that generates and creates a lot of electricity. So on the town standpoint, we wanted, in addition to knowing we had to move quickly, we wanted to find a way to capture actual capital, actual dollars that we could use to make repairs in the schools that we would have to make anyway with rural funds. So we put together a project that includes not only the solar arrays for the high school, it includes a new roof for the high school, which is in the $8 million range. It's a very, very large and expensive roof. And it also includes $8 million in capital upgrades to the high school, City Hill, Maple Hill, and Hopwood School. So we will be receiving a solar array, which will be paid for by Johnson Controls, a new roof, and $8 million in upgrades. And essentially, that's the trade. So this project requires quite a bit of due diligence. And as I said, the first part of the due diligence is done by our advanced energy efficiencies, who are our energy advisors, and who have been working with us since I've been there. And their mantra and our mantra is low upfront costs, energy savings, and reducing and improving our carbon footprint and having a green, sustainable project in a very green town. So we have carried out that mantra throughout all of our projects, including this project. So our energy advisors are part of the project, and Todd is part of our team reviewing everything. So when I finish, I'm going to turn it over to Ada, who will talk a little bit, in a little more detail, about the scope of work and answer any questions. Now, the energy savings part of the project is inherent in the performance agreement, where our energy costs for those 4 schools, which include electricity, gas, and oil, are going to be capped at the amount we're now paying, which is, I'm going to just say, round it off, you can put $1 million number in there, which is what we're paying now for energy. So also included in this project is a guarantee that our energy costs will be capped at that moment. Now, that's not an exact number included in the documents, it's the exact chart, and there are some nuances to it that we may discuss. But essentially, we have stabilized, fixed energy costs for 20 years, and a lot of upgrades to all of our buildings. So that's the project. Now, I do want to stress that we've reviewed everything with Melissa Cooney, our superintendent, and Denise Risk, and Eileen from our finance office. They're all here tonight and available for questions. And I also want to mention that we are waiving bidding because of the time crunch and the fact that we're under some extreme deadlines on the state and federal level, and it's a very, very complex scope of work. So we've been doing our due diligence for some time, but we have to finish this, I believe, by the very quickly, by the end of September, so we're almost there. So, and again, everything has been reviewed by Shipman and Goodwin. So their main role is to make sure that the performance contract actually is a guarantee where we know and understand that we're not going to have to pay more than the amounts I described, and that we will be getting the improvements that I've mentioned. So before I turn it over to Adam on the scope of work, are there any questions about what I've said so far? Okay. So, Adam, I think it would be appropriate at this time if you would just expand a little bit about the upgrades that are being made to the four schools.
Well, good evening, everybody. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight on this great opportunity for the borough of Naugatuck. As many of you know, Gary Hale and myself, Advanced Energy Efficiencies, have been working closely with the borough of Naugatuck now, as Mayor Hess just referred to the beginning of his time in Naugatuck as mayor. We've taken on a lot of different initiatives, including solar on a majority of the schools, along with the fuel cells at the wastewater treatment plant and the combined heat and power system at the high school. One of our things that we're always looking at is that we like to be able to sit in the borough's seat and be able to understand everything that is being presented. And one of the great things is all the knowledge that we have on the different schools. So many of you know, we go in and out of these schools on a regular basis. We've worked very closely with Todd Pirelli. Todd and I go back now 3 superintendents, back to when Sharon Locke was the superintendent, and we did a few DAS projects together. So, and we both got our hands dirty and made sure that the jobs are done complete and on task, and not a penny more than what was promised, out of the budget. One of the things I could tell you is that in doing our review with Johnson Controls, we really looked at 4 major locations. One is the Naugatuck High School. Second is Maple Hill Elementary. Third is City Hill Middle School. And fourth is Hopbrook Elementary. Let me start with the high school. So the high school, as many of you know, the roof, as Mayor Hess already touched on, is at the end of its life. One of the best things to do when you need to do a roof, even the state of Connecticut and legislation have promoted doing solar with a new roof. So it helps actually be able to do the 2 things at once. This is the same process we did at City Hill Middle School. Second is we all also know that the controls in the town, we had to sign an extension of a 1-year contract with Siemens because that ended this past school calendar year. So Todd Pirelli came back on board in July, and it took a lot of work to get everything back operating and working. There are still some things that are not 100% to where we'd like them to be, but we're in a lot better position than where we were June 30. The other big thing is at the high school is that we have 1 cooling tower and chiller that is at its end of life. That would be replaced along with other HVAC upgrades. One thing in particular that a lot of people know about is in the swimming pool area, the humidity in the natatorium, and getting all that corrected and upgraded, along with ventilation within the gymnasium, and also some work done around the school cafeteria. Those are all major upgrades that have been, needing to be completed, that are all going to be addressed within this scope of work. Next, a lot of during COVID, and even pre-existing to COVID, we had ventilation and stagnant air in Maple Hill. It was one thing that we tried to adjust really early on, when Gary and I started to work within the borough. This here will actually bring HVAC, and air conditioning to the classrooms, and proper ventilation to the school. It's something that's been needed desperately, and also with the controls to be able to monitor and handle that remotely. City Hill Middle School, we're doing a few different things. One, the chiller up on the roof. Many of you, the cooling tower, might know, might not know from these meetings, but that cooling tower was at its end of life really 3 years ago. It's been on the capital plan, very expensive, as we all know, dealing with cooling towers, especially when you have to bring in the crane, structural, everything else. So at City Hill Middle School, we have the cooling tower, we have the chiller, we have direct air cooling upgrades, along with, I think, like 21 air handling units at City Hill Middle School. Last but not least, we all know at the end of, basically not even at the end of winter, but towards the end of winter, luckily, at Hopbrook School, we lost one of our boilers. One boiler is being updated at this moment by CT combustion, but that is just a boiler. The other boiler is going to be upgraded within this scope of work, as also a new flue will be put in place. We're also adding air conditioning to Hopbrook. So we have the external building at Hopbrook will have a heat pump, along with some of the additional wings at Hopbrook. So, that will be another thing that will be handled. And again, between Hopbrook, City Hill, Maple Hill, and Naugatuck High, we are talking about control upgrades at each location. One thing to point out is that significant work has been done to analyze what capacity of solar could be installed. I can't have the ability to share my screen at the moment, but I could talk through it. At Naugatuck High School, you'll recognize that we are filling up the entire roof. Some of you might notice that there are a few sections of that roof that are not getting solar. Well, back when we had the embedded solar incident on the roof, there was we did a structural analysis on the whole facility. Pistola Associates did that. Pistola Associates within Naugatuck did that complete study. And those roofs were deemed to be inadequate structurally to handle the weight of the additional solar. So one good thing is that we're ahead of a few of our tasks that we need to complete in order to go into the DAS submission under the school reimbursement program, as we've already had some work completed from the past and that we needed to have done in order to, make sure that we're dotting all our I's and crossing our T's. That there is a 1.25 megawatt system on the roof and is going to generate roughly $310,000 annually in revenue through the NRES program. One thing Mayor Hess was touching on was the NRES program and the time crunch. That was, we needed to be able to get the application into the school first program, which basically there was a 25 megawatt set aside for schools. And this is the first year that we wouldn't need to bid into the program. It was a first come, first served basis, as long as that there was capacity of the 25 megawatts still available. So we were able to go ahead and get that submitted. Then we also have the land in between Western and Naugatuck High on the hill there, behind the school. That there, we were able to go ahead and size another roughly a little bit over a megawatt on the ground there. And that there is going to produce $400,000 in annual revenue. And then last but not least, we analyzed the parking lot up above the football field where a lot of people like to be able to tailgate, watch the football games. That there we're going to be able to build a 500 kW solar array, and that there's going to generate roughly 150,000 in annual revenue through the NRES program. So through the 3 solar arrays, we're looking at being able to generate 850,000 annually in revenue. This is just a great project for the borough of Naugatuck, and we can't stress enough being able to have this and be able to get.
And we're back.
We're back up.
All right. We're back. We'll reconvene the meeting at 6:56. And I guess I should check. I see Fran. I see Megan is now here. Matt's on the line. Adam. How about Melissa, Denise? Do we have everyone?
Yeah, everyone who is there is still there. Yep.
Yeah, we never dropped off, just so everybody knows. In the room there, we all stayed on, and everybody heard me basically right down to the last minute, and then I was turning it back over to you, Pete.
Well,
Great time.
I didn't hear the handoff to me, so why don't you do
This is
that?
the best part of the speech, Dave.
It's a really, really rousing part.
Yeah, just say the last couple of things you said, turn it over to me, okay?
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Mayor Pete. So I just was, basically coming to the end that basically we have the 3 solar arrays, and those 3 solar arrays in combination are going to be able to generate 850,000 annually in revenue under a guaranteed contract from Eversource under the NRES program. And, that this is, by being able to move forward with these projects, that this performance contract is providing a significant benefit to the borough of Naugatuck and being able to get the buildings and then much needed upgrades completed by being able to move forward with these projects.
And in addition to that, we're going to have $150,000 annually of guaranteed savings. And those two numbers, 850, 150, a million, are pretty much equal to the amount we're paying for gas, oil, electricity at the 4 schools. Not exactly, but in all the documents, we have charts that are very close to those numbers. So essentially, that's how the project guarantee works. So at this time, what I'd like to do is turn it over to Matt Ritter from Shipping in Woodland to tell us about the legal document, the performance guarantee. So Matt, could you take it from there, please?
You're on mute.
Hopefully everybody can hear me now.
Yep. We can hear you.
Thanks, everybody. Matt Ritter from Shipman and Goodwin, and Mayor, thanks for turning it over. So, yeah, we have reviewed the guarantee contract, and I would really point to 2 pages because it's, as someone mentioned, it's a pretty long document, and it's got a lot of legalese in there and a lot of energy kind of language in there that can be difficult sometimes to get through. But pages 38 and 39 are really key documents or pages in that agreement in your packet. And you'll see what the mayor was referring to on page 38. You'll see the utility cost avoidance from the solar that's being generated. You'll see the efficiencies, and you kind of see where the mayor's getting that $1 million number, 1 million plus, to help cover, basically to offset what the borough is paying now. And then those revenues can be pledged to pay for the equipment that you're installing. The second big page is 39, and I think we're working off the same document. I know there's been some changes to it. But page 39, you'll see project benefit shortfalls and surpluses. And that's the part that really talks about the guarantee and does a good summary of it. And you'll see the different options of what would happen if what the savings and the revenues you see on page 38 don't come to fruition. Page 39 talks about that. And again, either JCI is going to pay the unpaid balance to help out the borough. They could give you a credit. They could put in additional equipment to lead to have greater efficiencies. So there's different options, but at the end of the day, that's really what this deal is about. The solar and the efficiencies coupled with the tax credits and the state grants are what's making this deal work at the end of the day.
Does anyone have any questions for Matt on the legal aspects of this transaction?
I have questions, but I'll take it from that.
Okay, so let's do this then. Let's proceed to overall questions. Rocky?
First. Okay. And on page 11, it shows a carport mount and a ground mount. I didn't know we had a carport, and zoning doesn't allow ground mounts of solar panels.
Let's back up. We do have a carport at the.
Yeah, I could answer that. I could answer that, Mayor Hess.
Gotcha.
Go ahead, Adam.
Sorry to interrupt. Just so you know, Rocky, yes, we have gone through this issue already. At the police department, we installed a 250 kW solar array ground mounted. We just need to be able to work with the zoning folks as we did previously. And that was just, at the beginning of solar, they didn't want every residential house to be putting ground mounted solar in their backyard.
So does that mean there was a change to the zoning regulations, or as they're written, they allow it?
There was a work through that if it was done for the borough from a municipal standpoint, that it was able to be allowed from a municipality.
Oh, interesting.
Let me say one thing also, just as an overview. This project, which is quite complex, won't really start for summer. And to the extent there are any loose ends, this project will be done in compliance with all applicable laws, for our benefit and Johnson Controls. And the idea today for us is not to say it's 1,000% complete. We know there are some loose ends that we have to take care of.
The only reason I ask is I know our zoning laws are silent on it, and if they're silent, it's not allowed. So that's why I asked that question. Has there been much, or is there a concern about vandalism with the ground panels?
No, Rocky, because all ground mounts get enclosed in a fence. So just as we did up at the police department, there's a 6-foot high chain link fence around them with the proper height at the bottom in order to allow animals to be able to go in and out.
Sure, thank you. Well, that way the animals can charge their cell phones in there. So what's the approximate length of the project?
The duration you're asking?
Yeah.
Well, the duration is going to be it's going to be done in phases. So obviously the roof needs to be completed first. So first thing would be going through is the DAS as we did for City Hill Middle School. That process would start imminently. And so this way we could go through the bid process and get a roofer selected for summer of 26 in order to be able to put the roof on while school is out in June of 26.
Thank you. I also noticed that Eversource is mentioned. They're not exactly known for expediting things, so I'm hoping that won't hold anything up. I know you don't know that, but I'm just tossing that out there. It also mentions a fiber network and hot water supply. Is that a solar hot water supply, or is that the boiler?
Could you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, it mentions a fiber network and a hot water supply in the documents.
That's in a later phase.
So it has nothing to do with the solar panels?
No, that's on the efficiency side between the boilers and HVAC.
Okay. Just two more questions. It mentions $20 million in measured project benefits, but on page 38, it says project benefits 36 million.
Let's wait till we get to motion 2 for that, because that's all included in the second motion.
Okay. And then my last question is, I'm assuming that will affect our utility bills, or will they be even because of the amount?
Well, it doesn't matter what the bills are, the amounts we pay out there. But,
We budget for it.
yeah. Well, no, the amount that will be budgeted by the Board of Ed will be the amount shown in the table we just looked at. Starting at 950 something up to just a little. Those would be the budgeted.
Thank you, that's it.
Maintenance programs after we have these items put in place. Is there a maintenance program that goes through the school system, or does it go through Johnson?
Yeah, the maintenance contract will be through Johnson Controls.
And is that contract an annual fee, or is it part of the project?
I believe Aaron is there in the room. I'd rather have Aaron be able to speak to Johnson Controls contract language.
It's currently not in the contract, and it'll be something that we'll discuss, and you'll be able to take it or not take it.
Okay, so I guess my question would be, if there's a maintenance contract that is supposed to be, to make sure that everything is going right.
Yeah.
Is that something that you guys do?
Is something that we do.
All right, so me personally, if you guys are in charge of this project per se, I would not prefer to have somebody else do a maintenance project on your stuff.
Understood. We have 3 years that's already being prepaid, if you will, for measurement verification.
Yeah.
And that's part of the commissioning and then the ongoing watching how the systems perform.
Okay. And then after that, will there be an annual fee that the Board of Ed has to pay, or the town has to pay for that contract?
There will be, and there'll be pieces that Todd and the facilities folks and AWE will be able to decide where that value is, what they want to cover.
Okay. Mayor's probably we should all be informed on that, because we want to make sure that the systems are working as efficient as possible, and that we have the proper people that are doing the maintenance on it.
Right, so I would say, going forward, that the 5-year capital committee will be involved with Todd, Adam, and
I think it's important,
yeah.
because a lot of times we have these beautiful projects, and all of a sudden, how come we're not taking care of it? Well, we forgot. I don't know, something stupid. Just want to make sure, like
No, it's a good point, Bob.
like we have the turf field. We want to make sure that the turf people are going to maintain the field, and that's the important part.
Adam, I'm going to direct you to keep your eye on the ball on that issue with Todd and keep us informed throughout the entire process. Okay?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions on motion number 1? Okay. On the first motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Let's go to motion 2.
Whereas the Borough of Naugatuck, Connecticut, the borough contemplates entering into a performance contract with Johnson Controls Incorporated, JCI, which shall implement energy savings measures and other capital improvements to achieve utility, operation, and maintenance cost savings. And whereas the performance contract shall contain an assured performance guarantee that will reduce the borough's annual cost of electricity, gas, and oil for Naugatuck High School, City Hill, Maple Hill, and Hop Brook schools and such performance guarantee savings and revenues will be in the amount sufficient to pay for the borough's annual lease payments for a period of up to 20 years. And whereas the order to finance the energy saving measures and other capital improvements, the borough anticipates entering into a lease purchase agreement on behalf of the borough and the Naugatuck Board of Education in an amount not to exceed $28 million per project. And whereas the borough understands that all payments due in each year under a lease purchase agreement will be made to the extent the funds appropriated, therefore, in the borough's annual budget. And whereas the Board of Mayor and Burgesses has the power, among others, 1, to provide for the due execution of the contracts, 2, to lease real and personal property for the borough, and 3, to enter into contracts for any services and to purchase or contract to purchase any supplies, materials, equipment, and other commodities required by the borough agency. Now therefore be it resolved, 1, the mayor and the controller are authorized to approve and execute performance contract with JCI or any amendments thereto, any certificates or documents related to the performance contract, and perform all their acts and execute all of the documents which are necessary or appropriate to enter into the performance contract. 2, the mayor and the controller are authorized to approve and execute lease purchase financing subject to annual appropriation in a principal amount not to exceed $28 million over a period of up to 20 years to finance the project. The project may include acquisition and installation costs, equipment, legal fees, debt interest on borrowings, and other financial costs, or other expenses related, or other expenses related to the acquisition of financing. 3, the mayor and the controller are authorized to approve, execute, and deliver on behalf of the borough any lease purchase agreement or any amendments thereto, and any certificates or documents related to the project, and are authorized to determine the amounts, dates, interest rates, maturities, prepayment terms, form, and other details of the lease purchase agreement, and to perform all other acts and execute all of the documents which are necessary or appropriate to enter into the lease purchase agreement, including the granting of a security interest in the project. 4, the mayor and the controller are authorized to bind the borough pursuant to such representations and covenants as the mayor and controller deem necessary or advisable in order to maintain the continued exemption from federal income taxation of interest on the lease purchase agreement authorized by this resolution if issued on a tax-exempt basis, including covenants to pay rebates of investments earnings to the United States in the future. 5, the Board of Mayor and Burgesses hereby waives any applicable public bidding requirements of the borough with respect to the performance contract and the project, and find out such a waiver is in the best interest of the borough. Second.
Okay, now, that's a motion prepared by Chipman and Goodwin. And I'm going to try and very quickly simplify part of it. And then I'll turn it back over to Matt. So, first of all, the not to exceed 28 million. The actual number is $27,375,350. Now, of that amount, $13,253,894 comes to us by way of state aid, and $2,361,506 comes to us by way of federal aid, and then the balance comes to us by payments that we make to Johnson Controls that are in slightly different amounts, but are around $1 million. So going back to the million, 850 of the million comes from guaranteed energy savings, and 150 comes from guaranteed efficiencies from all of the buildings. So we get to zero by getting state aid, federal aid, and having guarantees that pay for the project from start to finish. So let me stop there and see if there's a question for me before I turn it over to Matt.
Is there anybody at the state and the federal level have to approve this project?
Well, the state will go to DAS to the state.
Correct.
I believe, Adam or Aaron, do you want to comment on that? Barry?
Mayor, it's, the investment tax credit, you mentioned earlier how things are changing in Washington.
Yeah.
The investment tax credit for solar and other renewable energies will slowly fade off into the sunset. Actually, not slowly, but that's part of the urgency of getting this done now, so that we can qualify for that.
So we're doing it now because the money's there now, and if we don't do it, it won't be there.
That's right.
But that 2,361,000 is the money we're talking about, right?
It's a direct pay subsidy that comes back to you from the federal government, Pete.
Yeah.
Is there interest on the payments Johnson controls?
There will be an interest rate. The funding will come from Bank of America, I believe. Matt can comment on that, but there will be an interest rate.
But it's, well, what I described were the payments we make to pay it off. So whatever is in there is inherent in that.
The payments are sufficient to cover all costs borne by the project.
Right, including the
Right.
I'm just wondering, could we get a better interest rate funding?
You don't have the same flexibility and you have a higher cost.
First of all,
Gotcha.
and we don't have the time for that.
Thank you.
This rebate at the top of the third column there, that's less than what I got for when I put solar on my home. Has the rebates already been reduced?
You mean
I got 25,000
Yeah,
on my house, which is 2,400 square feet. The high school's a bit bigger than that.
well, as far as the size,
What number you're referencing?
I'm just saying, I put solar on my house,
The
and
ITC tax credit is at 30%. It fluctuates just a few points depending on how the financing is. The financing arrangement is called a tax exempt lease financing. So you're getting the benefit of a lower rate because there's no tax associated with the municipality. So while it is slightly higher than a bond, it gives you some flexibility in the payments and having those payments flow in at a different time where that bond is flat. But that's where that direct pay subsidy comes from.
okay, all right.
And it starts to phase out as we move along through the calendar year.
All right.
26, 27, and then it just dies.
Right, okay. All right.
right. So I'm going to call on Matt Ritter to either correct anything I said that was inaccurate or expand or make whatever comments you feel are appropriate.
No, Mayor, not much to add. For folks looking for the question of the tax exemption, that would be paragraph 4. And sorry for the long resolution, and you had to read it. My apologies. But that's where it talks about the federal income taxation of the interest on the lease purchase agreement. And so, as you heard from JCI, you're going to get the federal tax exempt rate is going to be a lower interest rate than if this was done if JCI just went out and borrowed the money on their own. But even though this lease purchase will be exempt from federal tax, the owners of it, whoever the interest on it, will not be subject to taxation. It's not debt for state law purposes. So that's just kind of the nuance of the deal. It's a little different. Somebody asked about bonding. This is not going to be bonding. We're going to do the lease purchase process. So you won't see it on any of the debt limitation schedules of the borough or anything like that.
Is there anything you want to add, Matt?
No, I mean, I think, this arrangement, there's 2 points to think about, right? We talked a lot about the performance contract because that's really what's driving the deal. But at the end of the day, there's also going to be another agreement, which is this lease purchase. And that's just getting the financing for the deal. So you're really approving 2 things tonight. We spent most of our time, about 90% on the performance contract, which we reviewed, JCI presented tonight. And then once we kind of have that all done and signed and executed, we'll move to the lease purchase phase, which will be with a bank to help provide the financing to install the equipment and do all the projects that are in the performance contract. So that's why we're doing 2 agreements here tonight.
Okay. Any questions for Matt?
Can I ask a question to that before?
Yeah.
By the way, for a nominal fee, I'm available to read resolutions. And one part of this, it says $20 million measured project benefits. And then on page 38, it says project benefits 36 million.
Yeah, I'll defer to JCI, but I think what that is just the delta when you take out the rebates and grants and incentives, right? So I think to get to the bigger number, it's 20 plus the 15. But the rebates, grants, and incentives come on the front end. The other 19 years are the solar and the avoidance cost, the efficiency cost, and that's the other 20, I believe. I can correct me on that if they want to.
Sound right? No?
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, any further questions for Matt? Any further questions from anyone or comments? All right, with regard to resolution number 2, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And, okay, so Matt, Adam, Barry, Aaron, you're discharged.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Take the rest of the day off.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.
Yeah, have a good night. Thanks.
So now we'll go
Hey, Carl.
to 3, Rocky.
Motion that the Board of Mayor and Burgess authorize Mayor and Warren P. Test to enter into a subcontractor agreement with Shine Early Learning Incorporated, 500 7th Avenue, 8th floor, New York, to perform services for the state's Office of Early Childhood pursuant to the local governance partner intermediary program as recommended by Controller Eileen Cronacchio.
Second.
All right, just quickly by way of background, anything she wants. There have been some changes to state law and early childhood. In the past, the Board of Education was pretty much in charge of daycare in the borough of Naugatuck. The town was responsible for Naugatuck daycare, and the Board of Ed took care of it. The new system requires a fiduciary that handles the entire town. And it was voted that the borough of Naugatuck would be the fiduciary for all early childhood. And we've been working on this with Melissa, Denise, and the entire team. So everyone, for the most part, everyone from the Borough Board of Ed and both finance offices agree that this is the best way to do it. So we have a statewide, I don't know, consulting group that is working with everyone in the state, and that's Shine. They require the fiduciary to have an agreement and to hire a liaison. Our liaison is Jill Mahoney's group, Connecticut Partnership for Children. So Jill's group is the liaison. So they're doing essentially what they did before, but under a different umbrella. And we have to have a contract with Shine, also with Jill's group, and Eileen and her team, and Denise and Jill and everyone has been working out the documents. And this is the document that the state required.
The state vendor. Shine is the organization that the state has now contracted with to administer what they call Early Start. And this program is now going to go from 0 to 5 for preschool. So it's going to take into consideration 2 programs essentially. So we're getting through the newness phase of Shine, and the contract is what needs to be signed for the.
But we have no choice.
Not really.
This is no choice.
All right. Do we have any questions?
Does this change the responsibilities of some of these players? Like, I know Jill had some responsibility for some of this stuff, and the director of the daycare had some.
Well, they're now combined. So the borough is responsible, and we've hired Jill, her group, to be the entity that controls.
She's gonna be our liaison.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's designated as our liaison.
But we are, in essence, the borough is responsible. Now, we were in the past responsible only for Naugatuck daycare, and our finance office oversaw everything that happened there. Now we oversee all five from a financial standpoint, and I think our finance office is much better suited to do that, and we've all worked it out. And I do have to say that our finance office, Denise, the Board of Ed finance office, they're working together extremely well on everything, on facilities, on this, on everything. So it's to me, it's makes my job easier when everyone underneath me works together. So
It's also working the way we hoped it would,
right,
which is great.
right.
That's great.
All right. Any questions about this item?
No.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Rocky.
Motion to adjourn at 7:26.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.